Good evening, everybody. Before we get started, I will ask everyone to please silence cell phones and electronic devices. I'll call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. by recognizing the traditional keepers of this land, and specifically our neighbors of the Alderville First Nation with a formal territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the municipality of Brighton is located on the Mississauga-Anishinaabe territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississauga. The Council of the Municipality of Brighton respectfully acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Which brings us to the approval of the agenda, moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Butwell, that Council approve the February 21st, 2023 Council agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Members of Council, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? And if so, please state the general nature thereof. There are none noted. Are there any announcements this evening? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I was excited today. I spent 2 hours at the King Edward Center and the career fair that went on there and brought to you by the municipality of Brighton was excellent. And got a chance to talk to a lot of the participants, the people working the tables, and they were really pleased with the fact that we did it, and they got a lot out of it. The attendance looked pretty good. It was over 100 when I was there, but doesn't matter. I guess they were getting good response. And so I want to thank actually Ben and Carolyn and the team there that from the economic development. Jennifer, you had a table there. It was fantastic. So I just thank everybody for that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It was a good event, and I agree. The people who were displaying were all very impressed with the folks who were showing up and the fact that it was a seamlessly run event. So kudos to the economic development team. Agreed. Thank you. Any other announcements? Thank you. Brings us to the adoption of the minutes, moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that Council adopt the February 6, 2023 Council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Councillor Ferretis, that Council adopt the February 13th, 2023 Council planning meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. We have no statutory public meeting this evening. We have no delegations or presentations this evening. Madam Clerk, are you aware of any citizens' comments for us this evening? Wayne, did you put anything in the bin? Thank you. Brings us to staff reports. First report is with regards to an organizational review. Director Walsh, we have read this report. Do you have anything to add or highlight, sir?
Nothing further, Mayor. Just to note, there's maybe a couple little typos in the org chart, but something we can clean up. As per the recommendation, we will bring forward a bylaw at an appropriate time in step with the operational budget.
Thank you for that. The linking of on the retirement of the director of Parks and Rec and the creation of the new supervisor of Parks and Rec, there seems to be there's the link is then for that supervisor to report to the CAO, but I don't think that will be the intent.
That's correct. We've had that conversation internally, and that's one of the cleanups that we'll do when we bring back for the org chart in keeping with the bylaw at the time that's intended to be passed.
So to be clear, the intent will be for that entire organization, the Parks and Recreation Department, to at that point report through to the Director of Public Works and Infrastructure. Is that correct?
That's correct. It'll be integrated into essentially operations and as per past conversation with the council.
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear for the sake of the public, because there, there is a disconnect there that a supervisor would report directly to the CAO. So we'll tidy that up. And we're understanding that that is the intent if we pass this organizational review. Thank you. Any discussion? Oh, sorry, I'll read the motion, then ask for discussion. It's moved by Councillor Fredis and seconded by Councillor Butwell. The council received the staff report dated February 21st regarding organizational review, and further that council shall bring the new organizational structure through bylaw for council approval. Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. Also not wanting to point out errors, but I see that the group of public works operation is not connected to anyone. I'm assuming that that should be connected as well to manager of operations.
Needs a little stick there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, just that's it. Thank you.
So that will be corrected as well. Very well. Anything further from members of council? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. That brings us to the motion that was brought forward as a notice of motion on February 6, 2023. And although it has been signed by members of council, I'm going to revert back to the original mover and seconder. So it's moved by Mayor Ostrander, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. Whereas council has a duty to review policies, procedures, and bylaws, and whereas the procedure bylaw sets out the agenda and conduct for meetings, now therefore be it resolved that council directs staff to review the procedure bylaw and recommend alterations to council. Members of council, there has been some discussion that we should also include the policy and procedure manual for update. We've had a bit of that discussion very briefly in a closed session meeting. And there are probably other policies that need to be tidied up. So if it's okay with the seconder, I would agree to adding that as a friendly amendment to this motion, if that's okay with you, Deputy Mayor.
I agree.
Thank you. So the last line will now read, now therefore be it resolved that council directs staff to review the procedure bylaw and the policy and procedure manual and recommend alterations to council. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. I guess I'm just looking at timelines here. I'm assuming that this will take some time to go through all of this. So we're not, there's no expectations to do this within the next month or two.
No, I would suggest probably within the first half of this year. So, I mean, we're approaching the end of approaching the last part of Q1. So I think if we can get this done by the end of Q2, life would be good in the municipality.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But no, we haven't put a timeline on this specifically. So if we flip over to Q3 and it's still not done, we'll gently nudge. Anything further from members of council? Councillor Fredis.
To the chair, thank you. This may not be the right time, but will this review also look at the possibility of doing what Quinte West did, which is to amend the date for their council meetings by pushing it 2 days further along?
That can be done through the procedure bylaw. So our procedure bylaw sets out when we meet. And if that's a suggestion that you want to make, so council will be given an opportunity. Staff will go through it, make their recommendations. Council will then also have an opportunity to make their recommendations to council as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Councillor Rowley.
Require a notice of motion then at some point, or we'll
No,
just
we
do
could
it-
just discuss it at council when we're going through the recommendations. To
Okay,
change
thank
it.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Madam Clerk.
So typically what happens when we're doing this type of review is that I put it out to the public as well. They can provide their comments on our procedural bylaw and any changes that they think that we should do. So we bring in all those comments. Council then can bring in comments to me as well at the same time. And then I'll go through them all. And bring suggestions forward from those comments.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. We have no unfinished business listed in this agenda. There are no bylaws. We do have a report, but now we go to reports of advisory committees of council reports, minutes, and council reports, which is the Committee of the Whole meeting for February 15th. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council adopt the February 15th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. And the recommendations. It's moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that council approve the recommendation from the Committee of the Whole to approve the revised organizational chart. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. We have no reports or minutes of statutory committees, boards, or external agencies. We have no correspondence, direction items, endorsements, communications, or petitions, which brings us to FYI correspondence. The only piece of FYI correspondence is the County of Northumberland update, February 6th to 17th, 2023. It's moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receive the February 6th to 17th, 2023 County Council updates. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. We now go into question period. Is there anyone in the gallery who has a question with regard to anything on tonight's agenda? And I see that there's no one joining us by Zoom. Which brings us to our closed session meeting. And I jokingly said we'd be going into camera at 6:42, Ron. It's moved by Councillor Paredes and seconded by Councillor Butwell. The council resolve itself into closed session February 21st, 2023 at 6:42 p.m. Pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act, RSO 2001 as amended, subsection 239(2)B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, discussion regarding committee appointment and a human resources matter, and K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, specifically medical services funding agreement. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. We will take a 5-minute recess while staff resets all the electronics as needed.